How's everybody doing? I would like to welcome you back to the Enlightenment Moment. And in today's Enlightenment Moment, I would like to talk about a famous quote from Bruce Lee. I'm not going to quote the whole quote, but basically, it's be water. And I know a lot of people know what that quote is. They heard it before. You could look it up on YouTube. Actually, at the beginning of this video, I put the quote up. So the quote is about being water, and he talks about the different ways that water forms into a cup or forms into a pot, and the way it can crash, and the way water moves in a way that is manipulated and things like that. So if you take that in a literal sense, or a physical sense, 60% of a healthy human body is made up of water. So, he was telling us to be water, but it was an analogy. It was being able to adapt to a situation, being able to flow in and out of any situation that you're in, no matter what it is. And a lot of people just take that because it's Bruce Lee, that it was put in a fixed bubble for martial arts. And that's honestly what I did for myself when I trained for fights, or when I was going into the ring or the cage. That was my mentality. That was something that I listened to, something that I thought about, was being water, was being able to adapt to any situation and flow through any situation in a boxing match, flow with your punches, flow when they're throwing punches, being able to dip, slide, and MMA or martial arts, being able to throw punches, elbows, going into a sprawl, takedowns, just flowing in the moment. And that's what I got from it, my mentality when I listened to it, because it's Bruce Lee, you automatically think this pertains to martial arts. But not until recently did I understand this in a life aspect. And looking back on my life, I have embraced this philosophy, this quote, throughout my life, and it just dawned on me that I was able to embrace this without even knowing, without even understanding what I was doing. But in a moment, I'm going to explain everything to you. But I was able to adapt. I was able to keep flowing just like water. I was never stagnant. They say water has memory, water is alive. And when it gets stagnant, that's when it starts to grow mold. That's when it starts to die out. That's when it loses the electrolytes and things like that. So being like water again, being able to move and adapt and seep through what seems like blockages, being able to keep that flow going, that flow state, is something that I was able to do throughout my life up until now. And it's something that I'm continuing to do. And now that I'm consciously aware of it, it just makes it that much more better for me. It make it that much more sweeter to know that I'm able to flow in and out of situations no matter what happens. So going all the way back to middle school, when I was in middle school, I was athletic. I grew up playing sports outside with my friends and family. But in middle school, as far back as I can remember, I started in gymnastics. We had a gymnastics team in my middle school, and we had a track team. So I ran track and I did gymnastics. I didn't play football or basketball. I wasn't really that much into basketball. I was into football, but track was something I was interested in gymnastics. So those were the two things that I did in middle school. I also started picking up martial arts. I started picking up karate. I was training with my brother and my cousin for a while. And then I believe at my 8th grade year, I started in Shotokan karate. And then going into high school, my high school, when they came to tell us about the high school that I was going into, they told us that they had a football team and they had a track team and they had basketball and things like that. So I was excited. So I picked that high school, but I also picked that high school because it preps you for college. But I really wanted to play football. So I went into the high school ready to play football because I was running track. I felt like that I was fast. I felt like I'd be good. Like, playing with friends and family, I had good hands and I was fast. I had good moves. Um, but I went into high school and the funding for the track team my first year got cut because they couldn't get the funding for the program. And it was actually cross country. It wasn't just track. It was cross country, and the difference between track and cross country, you're a distance runner in cross country. In track, sometimes you're a sprinter, sometimes you're a hurdler. So they cut the track team, the cross country team, and they didn't even have a football team. So when I went there, they was like, we don't even have a football team. We haven't had a football team in years, and we don't have the funding for the track team anymore. So now the abilities that I had, I'm like, I was prepped to run track. I was prepped to get on the football team, and those dreams kind of fizzled out. But at the end of my sophomore year, I joined the basketball team at my high school. I joined the summer league, and I played basketball for a while. Again, I was athletic. I'm not the most skilled basketball player, but I was athletic enough to get on the team. I was a good rebounder. I was a good defensive player. I can jump, block, but if you want me to come down and shoot some threes, I'm not the man for that. But if you need me on defense, then I'm there. Like, I was a good defensive player. So again, I was fast. I could jump. I could block shots. I could, bring the ball down, lay it up. But all the other spectacular things and the dribbling and things like that, I could hold my own. But I wasn't like a star player. So I only did that for the summertime, and then I just kind of was focused on school more or less. Not really focused on school, but for this video, we're gonna say I was focused on school. And then my senior year, one of my friends came to me and was like, "Yo, like, you fast, you can jump. We really need you on the volleyball team." And I'm like, volleyball? Like, I'm not really into volleyball. Like, I never played volleyball before. But again, I just moved into the sport. I went to a couple of practices, and I actually fell in love with volleyball. So I played volleyball my senior year in high school. And it was an amazing experience. I had the opportunity to meet some good people because my high school actually was comprised of 3 different locations. And the 3 locations came together for basketball and the volleyball. So I got to meet some of the people from the other sites. So that was an amazing experience for me. So again, going into high school, I was ready to play football. I still didn't get the opportunity to play football, but I felt like I was good. I felt like that I was capable of playing football. So then going into college, I went to Cheney University my first year of college, and I went to walk on the team at Cheney University, and they told me that I had to join the track team, the wrestling team, and then my sophomore year, I could walk on the football team. Now, when I went into Cheney University, the football team was garbage. Like, we were not good at all. I believe we lost our homecoming game. It was like 90-something to 0. It was like a Madden score or whatever, but that's neither here nor there. But I went into college trying to walk on to the football team, and they gave me so much hassle. I had to join the wrestling team, which I didn't want to wrestle. I had to join the cross country or track team, which I kind of didn't want to join that team either. I just wanted to play football. So I just focused on academics my first year of college at Cheney University, and then I was able to I made the dean's list, and I was able to get my GPA up to transfer over to Temple University. Now, when I was able to transfer over to Temple University, I walked on at Temple University, and they gave me an opportunity to walk on in the springtime, and my abilities to play showed them that I was serious about playing football, and they invited me to summer camp, which was amazing because some of the guys told me that getting invited to summer camp off of being a walk-on and the team was already established was something that was not necessarily heard of. So I was excited to be a walk on and be able to make it to summer camp. You stay in the dorm rooms and you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, do crazy workouts, work out all day long, and just hang out with the team. It was an amazing time. So I got the experience to play on a college football team, and then I wasn't getting, again, the team was already established, so I wasn't getting the time in the games or the exposure that I thought that I needed. So I actually joined a what was it? It was a semi-pro team, and I played a year semi-pro in between, working out with Temple University, and then 1 year I tried out for a semi-pro team, and I tore my hamstring. No, I tore my quad. I was running for a deep ball, stepped in a hole that was on the field, and tore my quad. It was completely destroyed. I couldn't even walk, and so I couldn't play football anymore. And my college career basically wasn't going in the direction that I wanted it to go. So I was kind of sidelined for a little bit, but I was so determined to play football. And so I looked up a online scouting agent, and I told him what I was about. I sent him, my height. We talked over the phone, sent him my 40 speeds and things like that. And he said that it sounded promising, so he gave me information to a camp that was going to be in Orlando for Arena 2 team. And he said, come down, you have to pay your expenses to come down to be on this Arena team. You have to try out. It's open tryouts. You don't have to pay any money to try out because it's open tryouts, but it was invite only. So it was through scouts. It was through scouts and agents, but it was the open tryouts for the scouts and agents to bring their people down. So I maxed out my credit card to go down. I flew down to Orlando, stayed in a hotel for 3 days, and my quad was still torn. I still couldn't necessarily run for long periods of time, but I was like, I didn't want to pass up this opportunity. So I went down there and I tried out. We was out there all day long running routes. We did the 40s, and we just ran routes and did drills against the DBs, because I tried out for a receiver. So I was a receiver in college, and then I moved over to DB. I was a receiver in semi-pro, and then I moved over to safety. And when I went down to Orlando to try out for this Arena 2 team, I was trying out for receiver because that's the position that I really wanted to play. So my first 2 40s, I ran a 4.4 and a 4.5. So that was pretty fast, even though my quad was still recovering. But again, we were out there all day just running routes. We had breaks in between, had time to eat lunch and things like that and let that settle down. But again, the strain that it took on my leg, it was crazy. So, by the end of the day, my routes weren't as crisp, and, I wasn't as fast as I was at the beginning of the day. So the agent hit me up about 2 weeks later when I was back in Philly. He hit me up 2 weeks later, and he said that the team liked what I was doing in the beginning. They just need to see more consistency. So they was inviting me back down to Orlando for another tryout. They just wanted to see more consistency throughout the practice. But I didn't have the money, and 2, I feel like that I messed my leg up more than it was before I even went down there. But again, I didn't want to pass up the opportunity. But at that point in time, I had to turn down that offer, which was an amazing offer, and I was really looking forward to getting on the team. And I was hoping to use their rehab facility to, fix my leg up. But that didn't pan out. So I was back in Philly. I was still back at Temple, still taking classes and things like that. And I was just sidelined for a while because I couldn't walk properly. I couldn't run again because I messed my leg up even more. So I didn't have the insurance to get that looked at the time. So I sat out for a while, but I realized that I had, over the course of this time, from middle school up until high school, I had got my black belt in Shotokan. So I was like, I was competitive. I had the drive to compete. And I was like, I want to get back into competitive sports. And MMA was on the rise. And I was like, this is something that I feel like that I can do. This is something that I want to try out. I don't want to let this opportunity pass. So I found a couple of MMA gyms, and I went and watched some tryouts. I went and watched some sparring sessions. I actually sparred at a couple of gyms, and then I found the one gym that was able to fit what I wanted to do, fit my schedule. At this point in time, I had just had a son. I was out of school. I was done at Temple, and I was working, I believe, 2 jobs at the time. So I was like, and this gym was open all day long, and they just had a plethora of fighters and experience there. And that's where I made my home when I went into MMA. And so after football, I competed in MMA for about 10 years. I was competing, and of course, life happens. I had ups and downs. I had family issues. I had personal problems. But I think my MMA record, I actually got into boxing as well, boxing and jiu-jitsu. So, and that was one thing that I liked about the gym, because my trainer told me I had to at least do amateur boxing and some jiu-jitsu tournaments before he let me get in the cage. Now, mind you, I had a karate background, and I'm like, I'm not trying to do no boxing or jiu-jitsu because I'm used to standing up. So, but I got into it, and boxing was amazing. Jiu-jitsu was amazing, and it just helped change my game. It helped take me to a whole nother level in my whole MMA aspect of fighting. I wasn't just one-dimensional anymore. I was able to, go from the ground to standing up, not only throwing punches, but throwing kicks and elbows, and being able to move in that manner. But it was just an amazing experience the last 10 years that I was able to go through MMA, boxing, kickboxing, and as well as jiu-jitsu, just to make me an overall well-rounded fighter. And I was going strong in MMA. I had my hiccups, like I said, life happened. I was out for a while. I had got injured, and then I came back. A lot of personal problems, a lot of family issues. That's for a whole nother video. But I started getting into my stride. I got a new coach, a new striking coach, a new jiu-jitsu coach, and we were making moves. We had 2 title fights. I won the belt. I was able to retain the belt, and I was heading to going pro. And I was supposed to turn pro December 2019, but November 2019, I ended up getting sick. And they don't know what happened. They don't know how it happened. I ended up with blood clots in my lungs, and I had blood clots in my leg. And so the doctor was like, basically I had to get on blood thinners, and I'm not able to fight anymore. And because I was on blood thinners, if I get cut, I could bleed. If it's a really bad cut, I could bleed out. So, and because they don't know how I got the clots, and the blood work was coming up normal, they said, I had to be on the blood thinners indefinitely. So my MMA career was basically over when I felt like I was starting to hit my stride and going into about to turn pro. So that sidelined me for a while. But in the midst of all that, about 2018, my sister told me that she felt like that I would be a good life coach. And I honestly didn't know what a life coach was. So at that time I started looking into what life coaching was, and it seemed pretty cool, to motivate people, to help people get their lives together. But I was like, honestly, I was focused on my fight career, getting some fights under my belt, winning a belt, turning pro, because that was a goal that I set. Um, so honestly, I feel like that I met that goal. I won a belt. I retained the belt in another fight, and I had to go ahead to turn pro. I just had to sign the paperwork, but I got sick. I got sidelined from that. So after MMA, from me having looking into motivational speaker, me looking into life coaching, I had already done a seminar. I did a seminar on goals, on how to build goals, on what helps you manifest your goals, what blocks your goals from being manifested. So I kind of already had one of those seminars under my belt. I was dabbling in life coaching, but I wasn't full force in life coaching. But after I got sick, um, that's when I went full force because I couldn't fight, and I turned all my attention, all my drive, all my competitive nature, all my competitive spirit into life coaching, motivational speaker, content creator, influencer, and that's basically what I'm doing now. Um, is trying to enrich other people's lives through my experiences of going through life, having the knowledge that I have, and just knowing the human body, the human psyche. When I was in college, I went to college for psychology, so understanding the human mind and the way we think and why we think, the different aspects of why people think the way they do, their upbringings and things like that, is something that really helped me move into this space that I'm in now as a motivational speaker, as a life coach, as a influencer, as a content creator. Um, but again, to touch all the way back at the beginning of this, what Bruce Lee said was be water. Be water, be able to maneuver through any and every situation. And I just took you guys on a journey from when I was in middle school, being on the track and gymnastics team, moving into high school, who didn't have anything that I was quote unquote good in, or anything that I was focused on, and just being able to maneuver in that space and finding where I fit in, which was basketball, to keep my athleticism up, to keep me moving, to keep me motivated to stay competitive. And then I moved into volleyball, which is, a not a crazy sport, but people look at volleyball, it's like, who competes in volleyball? Like, volleyball was a very competitive sport, and it definitely pushed you to the limit. And if you don't believe me, we can get out there and we can play some volleyball, and you will have a whole different respect for volleyball players. But coming from volleyball and a year of basketball, moving into a university that I walked on to the football team, where I never played an organized game of football in my life, and was able to make the team and was able to impress the coaches enough to get asked to come into summer camp with an already established team, making bonds with the people on that team, getting hurt, and still trying to push through, going down to Florida to try out for Arena 2 team, almost making the team. I didn't quite make the team. I feel like if I was 100%, I would have made the team. I don't dwell on the past. Everything happens for a reason. I didn't make the team. It was a life experience that I can impart on other people and mesh into my coaching business. You see what I'm saying? And then coming back home and sitting out for a while, and taking a step back and seeing where I can maneuver now. And I maneuvered my abilities as a martial artist into mixed martial arts, which I actually had to embody the mixed martial arts concept, which was boxing, kickboxing, karate, and jiu-jitsu. And then I have, a little bit of other backgrounds mixed in there from training with other gyms and things like that. So becoming a mixed martial artist, moving into that space and embodying the ambiance of everything that came with for 10 years, and going through life, ebb and flow, going with the motions, being able to flow back at the top of my game to win a belt and to retain a belt, and have the ability to turn pro. And when you have to turn pro, the state commission has to agree that you have the ability to turn pro. They don't just necessarily let anybody turn pro. So I had the ability, I had the capabilities to turn pro. My coaches was confident in me turning pro, and then I got sick. And instead of letting that sideline me, instead of letting that get me down and become stagnant, I just flowed into the next aspect of my life, which is coaching, motivational speaker, influencer. And right now I'm embracing, embodying all of that. I am moving from what he said, becoming a cup, becoming a teapot. I am embracing every aspect of my life, but I am not staying stagnant. So this is one aspect of what this quote meant to me when I took a step back and I actually looked at it, and I was like, throughout my life, I was able to flow. I was able to be water. I was able to not stay stagnant at any one point in time in my life when it felt like that my journey was over. Because my journey is never over. Your journey is never over. We are water. We are more water than anything else. We are 60% water. Our bodies are water. Our mentality has to be water. Our thought process has to be ever flowing. It has to be moving and manipulating our reality in order to keep us going. So never be stagnant. Always stay in motion. Always keep your thought process moving on to the next thing. We will never be stagnant. We're not supposed to be stagnant. We're supposed to be in motion. A body in motion stays in motion. A body at rest stays in rest. If you don't allow yourself to reach that rest point, then we will always be in motion. You just have to make sure that you're finding your direction, your space in life, and where you're supposed to be. And everything will be fine. Everything happens for a reason. You just don't always know the reason at the time that it happens. But again, as he said, be water. Do not stay stagnant. Become what you need to become in each and every moment in your life. And things will turn out the way that they're meant to turn out. And everybody will be what they're meant to be. So I appreciate you guys for sitting here listening to my life from middle school all the way up until now, and just going along with me in that journey. And I hope that some of you guys were able to take some nuggets from this and understand what aspect of that quote I was coming from, and just apply that to your life, and just understand that we are all in this together. If you need any help with anything, if you feel like that you're stagnant, please reach out, leave a comment, and I can help you get unstuck. That is one of the things that I do as a coach, as an influencer. But I just appreciate you guys again, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of the Enlightenment Moment. I appreciate you.